Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Canisius team here, I'd also just like to welcome you all to Canisius College. Our presenter for this session is Jennifer Stroth, and she is Associate Director of Online Communications and Identity at Stanford Law School. She has experience developing websites as an information architect, webmaster, and designer, has a BS in Applied Art and Design from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. And her presentation is so you redesigned your website. Now what? And there will be time for questions at the end.
Yeah, I'll try not to go too fast. And if you guys have questions in the middle, feel free to ask. I'm happy to pause and explain more. Yeah, so this is the story of a huge redesign and the aftermath, everything we learned along the way. So you launch your new site and you think, yay, we're done. Not so much. But in order to appreciate that, I just wanted to show you guys kind of where we started. Our website was very 2006. It was dark, it was drab, it was very constrained templates, and it just wasn't working for our content editors and our internal clients. So we decided it needed a complete overhaul, and we decided to start from scratch over. So we tried as hard as we could to plan for the perfect launch. We interviewed all of our stakeholders. We did the discovery. We designed what we heard people wanted and features and functionality. We built it. We previewed it with content editors. Gave them months and months to look at their content and to tweak it. But our clients are lawyers and program directors and faculty. They're busy, and the redesign is not important to anyone else until all of a sudden it goes live, and then they find everything. So then we were hit with what we like to call the post-launch tsunami. Just in a couple of weeks, we were just hit with a ton of emails and requests and things that people didn't find until after it went live. So we take a big breath, we dig in, and kept going. So now where we're at, we have a beautiful new website. It's in WordPress. It's grown over to almost 40,000 posts. We have 400 content editors that are in the system editing their own content and pages. And we're supporting 130 organizations. So it's clinics, programs, centers, student orgs, you name it, it's all in here. The new system is really, really flexible, which for us is great because we don't have to say no anymore. We can actually say, sure, you can do that. Let me show you how. And that makes things a lot easier and keeps people happy. Let's see. So now, even then, we're still not done. We know that there's always room for improvement, and that what we've been working on over the last couple of years since we launched the website is just those incremental user experience enhancements and helping people find things, taking in feature requests from those content editors and what we see how people are using the website, and then coming up with a really, really robust content strategy so that everything stays up to date. Because what we didn't want to have happen is build this beautiful new website and then a year later it's all out of date and nobody's taking care of it. So I think the most important thing that we spent a lot of time on this past year is mastering the content strategy. So as part of that discovery work that I mentioned for the redesign, we made sure that we were asking all of the questions with our stakeholders of when is your content important? Like, what are the key points in time when your content needs to be updated, and when is it important for the academic calendar that we check in with you and make sure that give you that little reminder, because again, they're doing other stuff and that's not on their list of priorities. So we have spreadsheets that we keep track of. If we've sent reminders, we kind of keep the email messages in there, any follow-up notes and things that we need to do. And then a lot of the content, the good thing is that we've made it so that it's automated for them, so that everything that's the day-to-day stuff gets updated. But if there's any new things that they need to check in or just take a fresh look, then that is a good reminder for them. It also gives us an opportunity to reach out and meet with them and check in and see how we're doing. Is the site still working for them? Is there anything that they wish they could do that they can't do? And then we take that as feature requests and try to put it on our roadmap and make it even better. And then we, oh, you can't see. Let me move this out of the way. So we took all of the information and then just made it visual for us because it helps us to see where the different touch points are. So we took our academic calendar, we took all the information we heard from anyone, and we took the admission cycle and overlaid it there. And so now we can tell any time of the year what's important and why. And this is especially important for our homepage. So we came here. This is going to be like the little moving, oops, the moving video thing. So we have a plan for all of our high-level pages. So our homepage, all of our user portals, so like the future students, current students, faculty and staff, alumni, all of those pages, we're running them as campaigns, and every link on the page is using a Google campaign tracking code. And we have a plan for what is important on that page at any given time. So my designer and content manager came up with this nice list of, we're using a panel design pattern. So each panel is represented with a row in the spreadsheet. We know what the message is, what the link will be, and when to change it out. So she took that information and then built these content blueprints so that, it's easier for her to visualize when she needs to go change that. What panel is she going to use? Why is it going to change? And so certain times of year, it's important like to get that apply now button. But other times of the year when we're not accepting applications anymore, then the apply button goes away and something else comes in its place. Maybe it's important for current students to apply for clinics or something. So a lot of that content changes based on where we're at in the calendar. And we also decided that, so for example, the highlights category of like the news and information, we didn't want people to get too used to seeing the same layout all the time. So every quarter we switch between either a 6-panel or a masonry, just to try to make it so that it's changing and it keeps looking fresh. And then the hero images, we change those out frequently, and depending on what's going on, those change. And then, so here's what that looks like in actual pages. I think it's maybe easier to visualize. So you can look at starting winter quarter in January, we've got the, the 6 up. And then if you look in spring quarter, like in April, we've changed that to the masonry. She's switching out the different layouts in the panels, and things are kind of moving around. So it's a really flexible system that we built. And these are some of our homepage messages. We have 6 kind of go-to headlines that headline messages that we rotate through in the year, and then we add to those so that for other key points in time like graduation, welcome back, I guess exams, things like that, or if there's big events going on campus, then we can take over the homepage with that, with the big hero image and messaging there. Okay, and so that was the kind of the front end and how that works. But for us managing it in the back end, there's a lot of moving pieces. So we made a Google Calendar that we share with our team so that we can get that high level overview of what's important when, and it can alert us. But then it breaks down to a million little tasks, as you can see in the bottom there. We're using Trello as our project management system. And we have a board that's just content calendar, and every task that needs to happen is mapped out, and we're using repeating tasks, which is one of their power-ups, so that we can take it, move it to our current sprint board and make sure that it gets done and assign it to people. But then next year when it's time for that task to happen again, it auto-generates itself so that we can move it again. So that's pretty key for us. And just automating things whenever possible. That's, I think, the key to all of these websites, because we have 130 organizations between the programs and centers, clinics, and student orgs. If we can just pull from the content that's already being added to our system from the content experts. So we have amazing people in our library that go through and add all of the media and publications into the system. We have our press people that are writing the news and announcements. All of that stuff is being generated and entered into the system and tagged in a really robust way, so that now it can just be built on queries and it shows up for people. And then that way they don't have to worry about editing their sites until something important comes up, like a research paper or a report that comes out that they really want to promote, or a big event that they're putting on. And then that helps them to not have to touch it all the time. And for us, training is how we survive. So there's only 3 of us. I have myself, that I work on project management and strategy. I have a content designer slash content manager, and then one developer. And so we're managing this giant site. And it's really, really important for us to have training, like online training and tutorials and office hours, so that people can kind of self-serve. Here's a sneak peek of some of the tools that we've built. So we have, it's on only like faculty and staff and Stanford people can see the tutorials, but so we have a page where you can request to be a content editor, and then we get the information, we can create an account and give them the appropriate permissions. And we have the website tutorials is kind of like a little shortcut to all the tutorials here. And then the tutorials themselves up here are, they're step by step. So here's a screenshot of what you're going to see. Here's exactly what information you should put in here and why. And then for like our most important content type that we have is our events calendar, because as you can imagine, we put on so many events, but everything has to take place somewhere. So our facilities group depends on us to have this really great workflow, where if somebody asks for a room that's on campus for a speaking event, then it has to get routed through the appropriate people so that they can put it on the calendar, make sure there's room for it, assign it. If it gets canceled, it needs to notify them. If it's a student organization that's trying to put on an event, student affairs has to get involved in that workflow, approve it, make sure there's not too many other events happening at the same time. So for this one, we have a quiz. So we make sure at the bottom of the tutorial, we ask 3 questions, and it's just the 3 most important things that we want people to remember, and they can't get it wrong. So if they click the wrong answer, then it just gives them a reminder of like, nope, it was that. And then they have to choose that before they can submit it. And then that way we know that they've supposedly read through the process, and then we grant them permissions. We also have some cheat sheets that our designer created, especially for images. The website is really image rich, and we have this cropping format tool so that you can upload the image once, but then every various panel layout, you can go crop it to the right size. But that one gets a little tricky, so it's nice to have a handout for that people can refer to on what are the ideal sizes and such. So these are things that we've had to learn and adapt as we go, because they're the questions we answer a lot, and then we'll turn them into tutorials or handouts. And then every quarter we send out an email from our team, just letting people know, what are the updates, added features and functionality, training sessions that we have in open office hours, and stuff like that, so that they can remember that we're here for them. So, and as I mentioned, the content permission groups are really important for us. We have every single content type has varying levels of access that we can give to a group. And so people can either like access all of them or only go to the point where they publish it, and then members of groups are assigned. And then on the page itself, we can give permission so that, say, if people are collaborating with each other, one person in the team can create the page, but then later another member of the team can go in and edit it. And then once the permissions are set for the group, anytime somebody makes something new, it just automatically gives their group permission to everything they've created. And this is really important for us because it helps keep all of those 400 content editors from messing up each other's stuff and from not making changes they're not supposed to. Another thing we've had to do over the last couple of years is kind of migrating and turning off some of these rogue sites. We had a lot of organizations with our old website. It couldn't do what they wanted in the time that they needed it. So what happens, they go off, get some funding, go create a website on another platform, do it themselves. They get the money to do it the first time, but then they don't remember to think about the ongoing maintenance and the upgrades and what happens if somebody leaves or loses access and there's nobody there to take care of it. So, you know, a lot of times either our IT group or we've had to go in and rescue them. So now that we have the system is a lot more flexible, we are getting a lot of those people to come back into the website because they can do what they want. So that has helped out a lot. Let's see, what's next? Kind of going a little fast. So we are spending the most of our time now just kind of improving our processes and making sure that we can keep track of everything, plan it out, and accommodate everything. So we keep the feature requests in a backlog, we plan for them and try to get them out the door. We have recently started using a tool called Hotjar, which is, for me, it's a new toy because we can see exactly how people are actually using the site. So what are people clicking on? So with these heat maps over here, you can see what's getting the most clicks on a page just by looking at the page, and it records maps. You can see if people are really scrolling down on the page or where you're losing them. And then they have this tool where we can do anonymous screen recording. So you can't really tell who the user is, but you can see what they're doing on the site, where they're clicking, and if they're hitting key pages or if you're losing them. So that's where we're starting to pay more attention to how people are using the site and what we can fix and make it easier. And then we've been starting to use Google Data Studio so that we can keep track of all of these reports. Right now, I have everything set up in Google Analytics, all those tracking codes that I was talking about. We send reports out so that we can see how people are using it and where on the page they're clicking so that we can bump the information up. But I think it's hard to see the trends over time when you're just getting monthly reports. So I've started tracking these now in Google Data Studio so that as a user of the report, you can just go in and start, you know, twiddling with the dates and seeing what's going on there. So I can give you guys a sneak peek of some of the things that we've noticed and tried to fix on the website. Like for example, the media page that we have, we built it so that the details and the metadata was at the top of the page, so you knew which organization it was about, maybe which faculty member it was related to. But that's good to have that information on the page, but it makes it so that the story gets buried below the fold. So we had some feedback, and our designer decided to come up with a new approach to it, so that we're taking the metadata, moved it into a card, and now the story is up above the fold. And then we're also, as we're building out these sites and helping with organizations, we're noticing, like over here, that we needed to add to our little toolbox of panels. So we're adapting some of those layouts so that we can, you know, have pictures that are maybe not so big. You get people that are looking at their page and they're like, oh my gosh, it's giant, can you make it smaller? And so we're trying to make it so that it's, you know, there's different layouts for that. And then also some of our groups have a ton of people that are associated with them. And then when you have these big panels, you end up with a page that's super long with lots of pictures. So we're trying to collapse and bring things up a little bit. Any questions? I went a little too fast, I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah, I do. It's the law.stanford.edu. Now what? But yes.
Are you guys just using the free version of Hotjar, or are you paying for it?
We're paying for it.
So I really empathize with the fact that now that you have these rogue sites going off,
Yes,
do their own thing, and then like the graduate student that was wonderful went on to do other things, and nobody even knows how to log into the site.
that's
We-
exactly the problem.
Yeah, we have the exact same situation where they went off to do their own thing because the old template was restrictive. And yes, setting up a new system that's more flexible, eventually they come back into the fold. And that's what our experience has been as well. I think making sure that you keep that door open is my advice to everyone on that. That if somebody goes off to do their own thing, don't just like, you're dead to me now, and never
Right.
talk to them again.
No.
Just keep the door open, because you want to make it so that they are wanting to come back because they like what you're doing now, as opposed to feeling like they have to admit defeat or something like that. But we've had several sites come back into the fold with our new design as a result of being more flexible.
Great. Okay.
With the hard jar, can you tell if it's traffic coming from external to your school versus internal to your school? Basically tell the external traffic versus the internal traffic.
Yeah, so the question was, with Hotjar, can we tell internal versus external traffic? And yes, we can. You can either filter it out, or I think you can build, like with the recordings or the heat maps, you can build specific ones with filters in there. We haven't toyed with that yet because a lot of our audience is internal, like our faculty and staff portal. We want to know how they're using it, or our students are on campus. So I haven't quite developed my strategy for how to tell the difference yet. Yes.
Yeah, well, I thought it was super impressive to see how you mapped out how the website changed, how different things can be done here. And I'm thinking about how that might apply to nonprofit organizations who don't have 400 content providers, but they might have 10 unpaid content.
Right. And then having it documented somewhere is just really nice as a touch point.
So what is the best software for kind of arranging that schedule and making it visible to the 10 content providers?
So we started, of course, starting Google Sheets, and then you realize that's not enough. And then we tried Google Calendar, but it's a little bit too easy to, you hit snooze or dismiss on the Google Calendar. So that's when we started using Trello. I mean, we were using Trello for our other projects, but now we're using Trello for the content tasks and updates. And you can create a team in Trello, and then they can have access to a board. And then what we do is we take the cards as we're ready to work on them and put them into our current sprint board. And then that way the person it's part of the normal process. It's in with everything else that they need to do. And that way it gets the attention, because you can't move it along. It just sits there until you do it.
As far as having that many content editors, do you guys have any processes to prevent them from breaking the design rules or anything that you guys have implemented, or is it just a bunch of meta builds?
Yeah, so the question was about how do we keep the content editors from breaking the look and feel of the site, right, basically. So the panel system that we're using, we're using Panel Builder from Modern Tribe, and that helps us because everything's predefined. So there's certain colors and styles and everything that's built into the CSS, or different options that we chose to put in panels. Like, so for those background colors, there's just a set, just kind of a set palette that people can work with. And then it's also, we try to just assume that everybody's a grown-up and they're trying to do what's best, and so we let them do what's allowed. And if we see something that maybe doesn't look great or is not on brand, then we'll reach out, but we haven't really had that issue. And the permission system that we have that really helps to keep people from breaking things that they're not supposed to touch. That was a custom thing that Modern Tribe built for us, but I mean, that's helped us a ton. And then that way, when people graduate, like, so we have student organizations, and then you have the group of students graduate, and you have to give the next group of students permission. We can just set everybody, delete their permissions and start over. I forget which one we're using. Let me follow. It's a WordPress plugin that we use. I can't remember it off the top of my head. It's do you remember? Yeah. I'm sorry. If you give me your contact info, I'd be happy to let you know or do a follow-up, because what it does is it lets you define the various sizes that you need and where to use it in the CSS. Now, one of the lessons that we learned is the way that WordPress handles images, the space blows up. So the media library is good, it's searchable, you can find things a lot easier than in our previous system, but when you crop or reduce the file size in WordPress, it still keeps that original large file that somebody uploaded, and it just makes another copy. And then with these crop formats, it just makes even more copies. So really, I think the next step for us is coming up with something that will automatically reduce the file size as the user's uploading it, and then coming up with a way to make it so that we can go through and clean out unused images, or we don't want to limit the file size for people, because if they're uploading a large document or a report, they're going to run into a barrier, but we also don't want them uploading ginormous image files. So going in, deleting them, and replacing them is sort of part of our weekly process, or monthly process, really. Okay. I'm not sure. How do you tell if there were questions? Because I saw a little.
What's that?
I thought maybe there was a question online, but because I saw a little number, but I missed it.
All right, thank you.